All right. Well, welcome to Collective Perspective. We are going live tonight. We're going to be talking about trauma tonight. We're missing our buddy Rob, our main guy, who usually comes in with the story about anybody, somebody, and nobody. But we're going to go ahead and get started. This is your brother, Ernest, Pastor Ernest, your friend, your lover, your homeboy, your ride or die, your guy out south, you know, how we do. And I'm going to bring in, I got H-Rap, you know, he's a friend of the show, brother, you know, play cousin, so to speak. So we're going to let him introduce himself and then we'll bring in out.
It's H-Rap B, podcaster, man of the people, man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, you know. Host the End of the Bench, Build and Destroy, where we build up the community, destroy the lies and the propaganda about our community.
Say, come on in, Al. Tell us who you are, Al.
Sure, man. My name is Al Lewis. I am a veteran, an old veteran of not only the U.S. military, but the struggle for freedom. And man, I love my people, bro. Radical.
Amen.
Yeah. And I'm in. That's it.
I'll say. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, our topic tonight is dealing with trauma. And so what is trauma and its impact on Black bodies, and specifically Black bodies in America? I'm going to let Al come in and kind of give us an idea of what trauma is. And then from there, Al, we want to, you know, talk about like what qualifies you to talk about this. What tell us about your experience that kind of got you into this. And, you know, but we'll just start with what is trauma. Let's just try to make that plain.
Well, I'll try to give it a go. First of all, I'm not a doctor or clinician, but it's something I've been interested in all my life. I just didn't know what to call it. But I think it's defined as some physical or social event that causes impact to the brain. And because trauma is literally imprinted onto our brains, I think in our reptilian brain, and it bypasses our neocortex, our frontal lobe, the thinking area of our brain bypasses that. So it's really, you could just describe it as a scar, a physical imprint upon our brains that causes assorted behaviors in reaction to it.
And so I know because actually the organization that we're in, we've been taking a look at My Grandmother's Hands, which is a book by Reza. As a matter of fact, I saw a video by that brother, and he's got a lot of experience and reps at the basket when it comes to trauma. He talks about trauma as something that happens too fast, too soon, and it's too much for the brain. Brian, I mean, what's your perspective on trauma, and how do you? I mean, tell us a little bit about what you know about trauma.
Well, trauma is something. It's like it's something that lays dormant until it doesn't. And I know that sounds very vague and ambiguous, but it's something that you don't even understand sometimes. You can have a traumatic. It's a brain issue, or that it has certain triggers, and you don't even know it's bothering you again until it bothers you. You can have a traumatic experience with a parent, and it takes something 10, 15, 20 years later to trigger it. You could be dealing with epigenetics in regards to trauma that your grandmother felt. She got thrown off a bus as a person, and here we are 45, 50, 60 years later, you having a traumatic experience on a bus and don't even know why. So it's one of those things that's if you're not a clinician, as Al said, if you're not a professional, it's difficult to explain, but you should be aware of these things because they haunt us more than any other community. Maybe, more than any other community. I would honestly say more than any other community, simply because, well, one, we're a community that we've been taught, well, you know, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. And we're not okay because then 10, 15, 20, 50 years later, someone says a word and it impacts you mentally, and you go forward and don't even understand why that happened.
Good stuff, brother. So Al, you know, how did you get into this, what have you done that has led you up to the definition that you have today? What kind of work have you been involved in?
Oh, bro, that's it, man. First of all, I want to thank bro H Rap. Man, you nailed it. I mean, and part of the problems of even identifying what we call trauma is that because it happens in the body, it's a set of emotions and feelings. And most of us have never allowed ourselves to feel anything similar again based on the unpleasantness of having gone through a traumatic experience. So it's very hard to put the words. And if you really, when you talk to people who are describing a traumatic episode, if you listen, that story will almost be the same every time. It's like a chain of events that they tell that story, and you will see if you watch them having some visceral experience when they're doing it. And I suffer from post-traumatic stress. I don't think it's a disorder. I think it's the brain attempting to heal itself without a social construct to provide a trust factor in there where we can, to have somewhere to go and talk and act that out. We lost that ability in the United States of America, man. We got disintegrated from doing that. So I just wanted to say it and thank Bro H for pointing out what he said about it. I got involved because I knew that I had these certain behavioral patterns, even after having been clean in a 12-step program for 7 years and doing everything that they suggested. There were certain things that would just trigger me, man, and I could never figure out why not be so ashamed afterwards. Yeah. This was a pattern. And so I started my own research trying to figure out what the hell had happened to me. And I have to caution my brain, train my brain not to say what the hell was wrong with me, because that's what I said initially. Okay. What's wrong with me? That was a pattern that I asked myself. What did I do wrong? What was it about me that this happened to? But I trained my brain to ask, what happened? And that's when I began to see some semblance of answers. I went into therapy. I did something called a New Warrior training adventure. I got involved with that. It was a men's movement thing. I got involved with that to learn how some of their processes and facilitation methods. They dealt a lot with people suffering from trauma, but not exclusively. And so began to develop some techniques to dealing with it. And in doing that, I was inspired with some other cats down in Memphis to form this group called Inward Journey, African American Men's Council. We created an initiation experience for so-called Black men, or Black men, if they choose to be called that, to do that process, which is what we think is a transformative process of taking our people back through the abuse of slavery and undoing it, kind of collectively undoing it. So that in a gist, that's how I got involved.
Thank you for sharing that, brother. And the piece on what H-Rap talked about, I mean, based on your experiences, I know we've had several conversations, and about like growing up on the West Side, like, and you also talked about like how these experiences can come alive years later. You know, what type of experiences would you say have impacted you? That, you know, maybe if you wouldn't have had these experiences, you know, you probably wouldn't be triggered in ways that you are today. Can you identify like those types of experiences for yourself? Talking to you, B.
Oh, yes. Oh, I thought you was talking to Brother Al. I'm sorry. Oh, well, I mean, you know what, man? It's a lot of things. Like I was born on the West Side. I was raised on the North Side. And it was a situation, I could just think of a few things right off the top of my head. Let's say I used to have anger management issues. And now that I'm older, what it was at one point, I was a scary guy. I was the guy that didn't want to engage. So as I got older, if you pressed me a little, I was overreacting. So that's the traumatic response to this guy bullied me, this guy bullied me, this guy bullied me. So after I got about 12, all you had to do is look at me funny, and I'm ready. I'm mad. I'm ready to jump on you. I'm ready to knock you out. If you were playing, and I was a playful dude. I was the class clown. So imagine being the class clown and the class bully simultaneously. Then, I'm arguing for no reason at all. People say the slightest thing, I'm reacting. So those are the type of things that you deal with traumatically. And even to this day, as an adult, as a 50-year-old man, I haven't really had a lot of run-ins with the cops. But this negative energy that I have from the cops could be from, hell, I found out September 2019, Nat Turner's my cousin. Then I found out that my grandfather was burned out of his village. Then I found out my grandfather and my grandmother were run out of Alabama. Then I found out today, ironically, today is the 51-year anniversary of my dad dying due to a blow to the head from the cops. So this is something that I can trace this from 100 years ago to today.
Yeah, that's good. See, and that was the reason why I posed that question to you, because I know you're in tune with what's going on in your life and even with your ancestors. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Al, based on what you just heard H-Rap say, especially the piece about the anger and the violence, right? I know because Black people obviously get a lot of bad rap about being violent people, right? And obviously we know you and I in our organization, we talk about, what other bodies in this country have done violently and the kind of people that they are. But let me ask you this question, based on what you just heard H-Rap say, is this an excuse for why we get violence in our community? Is that, based on that experience, does trauma excuse us from the violence? Does it explain the violence? What's your perspective on that? How does that play out?
So I don't know how I could answer if it excuses. I don't know. I think it's crystal clear to me, at least, that it definitely plays probably the major role of violence in our communities. Does it excuse me? I think the verdict is out. I think we have to really study. We have to really study the impacts of trauma upon the brain, because brain science is a relatively new science, man. It ain't been around that long. And here you are studying something with the instrument that you're studying. I mean, think about that. The brain is studying the brain, literally. Looking for answers. That part of the brain may be somewhat recalcitrant in providing. So we got to develop ways, and they have developed ways rather of studying that. But I think one of the most important they came out with is what Brother H also said about it being passed down genetically. The experience of it. I mean, man, that is wild. If you really give that some thought, that I could inherit the trauma of my great grandfather via physically. And so I'm wondering, and I also want to say this, that my trauma I was first exposed to was for an alcoholic father who would strip me naked and beat me till I bled. I was terrified of this man. And so I experienced the gamut. gamut. So my first murder at 11. You know what I'm saying? I mean, violence was sudden, often unprovoked, and unexplained. And I grew up in South Memphis, and South Memphis was a rough part of town, man. And listen, I was a teacher's child, but in Memphis, the way segregation worked, it was no such thing as just the good part of town. Everybody lived on the same block.
Okay.
And so that made me what they thought was an easy mark. And I always loved people. I never liked fighting. I wanted to play. I wanted to create something, just have some fun. And it would always be somebody in the crowd that, oh, that's Miss Lewis's son. But I ain't got nothing to do with her, man. You got a beef with her. And I got tired of being their target. And explaining myself. And so I had to devise some very ruthless ways of protecting myself to gain that reputation of being crazy.
Yeah.
And so then that excused me. So, and it
Yeah.
also was like, leave him alone. He's crazy. That's all. I just want to be left alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. You know, I think about some of my experiences. I remember when I got my bike took from me. I was with my friends and these older guys. I wasn't even supposed to be outside, man. I was sneaking outside, and these older guys had come and kind of ambushed me from. I was at the back of the group of us, and so my friends didn't even notice. Like I was being taken up off my bike, you know, by like these four guys, and you talked about like replaying the story over and over again the same way, right? Because that was a very traumatic experience for me. For one, I had to deal with the embarrassment of getting my bike took. Then second, I had to deal with the fact that my bike was took and I wasn't even supposed to be outside. So I was about to catch a beating at the crib too. So, you know, so it's like, you know, as a kid, because I was probably like 9 years old, you know, and I didn't have any, you know, I didn't have anybody to talk to about that and how to process that, because, you know, the people who I did, I was afraid of to share that information with. So like you talk about like going through these stories the same way, right? Reliving these stories. I from my own experience, I know that trauma doesn't ask permission. You know, I can be chilling with my girl, and next thing you know, I'm thinking about this traumatic event, you know, again. What does that do to us when we replay those events over and over again like that? And anybody can jump in.
Oh, well, I believe it depends on where you are in regards to identifying. If you're on top of things, it'll help you in life. I think it helps you get through life. But if you're not, it's a trigger. You're a loose cannon. You are literally a bomb. You're nitroglycerin. The minute it becomes unstable, it explodes. But if you are in the situation to whereas these things can be easily identified, you can embrace them, it allows you to build and make yourself a better person. Me personally, I can take you back to Martin Luther King weekend 2007. And I was about to be triggered. And we can call it God, we can call it the universe, we call it whatever we want. This voice touched me on the shoulder. Well, I got something that touched me on the shoulder and whispered in my ear, don't do that. At that point, I was already on the path of healing in regards to my anger and basically, I won't even call it anger, the way I handle things. But that process right there was the very first day that I said, I got this. So if you are identifying, oh, you know what, I do spaz out sometimes, I will snap. You have to be able to say, well, why am I snapping? Am I unreasonable? Am I out of control? Do I have poor impulse control? Things like that. That's why if you are aware of this situation that's going on in your life, it'll help you be a better person. If you're not, you're nitroglycerin, and you're gonna explore, you could explode and destroy things, relationships, family members, you could hurt somebody, so forth and so on.
Got you. Al, what's your perspective on that? Telling that story over and over again, same way.
Well, it brings you back into, for me, in my observations, it takes people back into the trauma itself. Oftentimes, when they're telling the story, if you slow it down and ask them how they're feeling in that process, they'll describe the same feelings, close to the same feelings, rather than they were when it was happening. It was that was pointed out to me by a friend of that we share, Brother Ian Hagen, out of Seattle. And he says, "Al, you know, I love your stories, but you tell them all the same way." And I never thought about it like that. And so we had a dialogue about what was I experiencing when I was telling those stories. And I began to tell one, and I'd be damned if I didn't begin to feel some anxiety, some fear, some anger, during that whole process. And he suggested I tell a story a different way, to put the fourth part of the story in an 8-part story, put the fourth part first, the 7th part, number 5, just break the story up and tell it in blocks to start retraining my brain, not to get locked into that groove like a broken record, where, oh, I'm triggered. Now I'm going through this process. I'm going to experience these feelings in this process. They are very unpleasant. I'm now going to act them out upon somebody else I may care for, or a stranger. There are consequences for that. And knowing that when that happens, I'm going to do that over and over and over again.
Yeah, and that sounds for me, I judge that is frightening, because I think about, like you just mentioned, people I love, people I care for, my children, I've been abusive towards, I've been hurtful towards, and it wasn't because I intended to, right? Al, tell me, I mean, like, what's some of the impacts that you're noticing from all of the people that you brought through Underground Railroad and Inward Journey? Like, what are you seeing? Like, what are you coming to the conclusion, or what are you observing is the impact of this trauma on so-called Black people in our communities?
Well, I mean, if you can consider most of it, we've had just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people do this process, and in their interviews that we have with them, a common theme is usually it starts something in the family. It's some family incident, some uncle or a brother, a stepfather, a boyfriend molested a girl and a boy, or a father's missing that causes the family to have to suffer economically, that causes the indignities of not having enough. And so what if you ask any of those people about the people that perhaps abused them or molested them, if they knew anything about them, you'll begin to see that same pattern happening in that person. Uncle so-and-so had been molested when he was a child. So it's passed down generationally, physically and genetically, and we begin to act it in and then act it out. And I can tell you, man, I happen to have I'm trying to think of the word for it, living in one of the worst cities in the nation, man. It usually tops number one or first or last in the most messed up list. It's on it. Violence, poverty, ignorance. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the result, because it wasn't like this. It hadn't always been like this here. Something happened. And I think that had a great part to do with it. And you also think about where we are and who we are surrounded around. What did they bring from Britain and England? What traumas did they bring to want to act out upon us? How would you know to do such cruelties with such effectiveness had it not been done to you already? And so I also, like to have this conversation with people. I think we better reanalyze psychologically.
You went out, Al. I can't hear you.
Al's on mute.
Oh, Al, you're on mute. That's what happened.
Okay, yeah, it went out for a second and came back, but I was talking about knowing where we are and who we are surrounded by. Who were these people that kidnapped our ancestors, free people out of the interior of Africa, transported them to the Caribbean, to South America, to this mainland, and to act out such atrocities? Where did they learn that from? If you look at their history, and I'm not trying to paint anybody anything that they don't deserve. Facts are facts, man. I mean, I've read about how the royalty of the land that you lived on, that count or that duke or whoever it was that's come in your house and know his way with your woman on the night before you married her. I mean, come on, man. You couldn't ride a horse if you were a commoner, a peasant, a peon, your subjects. You didn't own any land. You could not own any land. And so they sent those people over here. A lot of them have been cracked in their mental institutions. They were let out of prisons. They signed these crazy contracts to come over here and then almost eradicate the native people. I mean, man, we're talking about things that put what they did in Germany to shame, and then transport our people here and act their traumas out upon us. Come on, that's crazy making, man.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Trav, you look like you wanted to jump in there, man. What did you have on?
Oh no, it's ironic that me and Bob had this exact same conversation on the Jaw Jackets this morning. It's you know, we were talking about at some point we have to stop looking back, but you're familiar with Sankofa, and with you have to look back, as Al stated. Look back, find the origin of the problem, and then you can fix it. Like, for example, let's make it something extremely simple. Tonight, you get a cold. Now, you can take some medication and you will feel better. When you can go out to work and all of a sudden you feeling way better than you was feeling in the house. Without changing your sheets, without changing your pillowcase, without changing the rest of your linen, you lay back in that bed. You wake up feeling sick again. The origin of the sickness is your bed. You need to change your pillowcases, change your sheets, change your comforter, wash them, sanitize them, and move forward. Because every time you lay back in that bed, you wake up, oh God. But when you go outside, I feel better. And that's just like trauma. If you don't understand why you are exploding, why you are depressed, why you are acting out as Al stated, why you are being tyrannical against another human being, then you will continue that behavior. It will be bred into it. You spoke about it. I think Al spoke about it too. With these kids today, they don't understand. Like this all this buying. That's a traumatic experience because my mom was a drug addict. So I'll never do this. I'll never be a bum. I'm gonna overcome that. But all you have to do is have a conversation with an elder, have a conversation with a relative, have a conversation that, hey, slow down. We respect you. You respect you. You're well respected. Don't overextend yourself to show the world that you are not A, B, and C. That's trauma.
Definitely. I want to go ahead and introduce Rob. I know he's still looking sleepy. Look at this guy. This is our main man. Hey, so Rob, we got Al Lewis from Memphis on the line. He's coming in. We know we're talking about, trauma and its impact on Black bodies in America. And so I just wanted to let you know what we're doing and where we at with it, man. Why he's still getting himself oriented. So,
well, hey, I appreciate it, man. Hey, I was listening before I got on. I didn't want to jump on like a total idiot. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I already knew. I said, man, these jokers, these the type of jokers, you got to at least hear what they're talking about before you get to jumping on. First of all, and I want to say I apologize. I really respect y'all time to the highest. So it's good seeing you on here, Al. I wanted to ask a question too, or I wanted to throw in a comment based off of capitalism, right? Based off of capitalism, the way the nature is and what we have to do to compete in United States, have we adjusted the way we've been exposed to the trauma, but adjusted in order to compete within the comfort zones of where we are, where we stand, as opposed to taking what we need from within to compete, to extend it outside of our comfort zone. I think that's my biggest concern. My thing is we've learned to compete, but we compete the hardest within our comfort zones as opposed to extending it outside, the range of our comfort zones. And it looks self-destructive or self-destructive in a nature that we say we compete hard as we can against each other, but we turn into some humble, docile individuals when it comes to that level of competition, when it comes to other men. I just wanted to hear what y'all thought about that.
That's a good question.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I like to look at what the facts say. I just got a report from I think it's been out 2 or 3 years, but the Chamber of Commerce here sent me the report about disparity in poverty in the United States, about wealth accumulation. And one of them said that a white man with no education had more wealth than a Black man with a college degree. This was, of course, across the board now of accumulated wealth. And I've read 2 other studies that support that. The question is, what happened? I mean, and I looked at a movie. I'll try to describe it like this. I looked at this movie last night, Bad Times at the El Royale. And the antagonist in the movie made a statement. He says, you know, man, we in these groups, and these people begin to set the rules for us, and they'll say, you have to make a choice, black or white, in or out. And this duality that they set everything up. But when do I question the rules in the first place? You know, if I get in this plan by a set of rules that was designed against my best interest, but still you set the parameters of the rules, you always winning at the game, because if I choose black, you win. If I choose white, you win. Damn your rules is what I began to say. Is I want to know who made the rules. Why'd you make the rules like this? How do these rules affect you, and how do they affect me? And if I don't want to play that game, I just won't play the game. Well, the first way of getting out of that game is get some information. I need to know, first of all, who I am and what I am. And then I got to know where I am and who I am among. When I can make that assessment, and I think I know how, then I can plot a plan, a course, to change things for myself and for people I'm relative to.
Yeah, but Al, let me ask you, Al, are we, you know, in your experience, are we wired like that, to respond like that, not give a damn? Are we literally really wired?
You're on mute too, Al.
Who, I'm on mute?
Al. No, Al's on.
Okay. Yeah, it kicked me out again. And it may be, I don't know if it's the system I'm hooked up to out at my grandbaby's house.
No, it's
I
that
think I heard the
prepaid phone
question.
you using.
I don't think he heard you though.
It's that prepaid phone, Al.
Hey, he laughed like the
So you
sloth.
gonna make me
on
stop?
Zootopia, man. That was funny.
Go ahead.
I'll give you an example about, yes, I think if trauma is imprinted on our brains, well, what was the intention of those people that were doing the imprinting, the trauma? I mean, we don't have to look, it's hard sometimes to look at the effects that something has had on myself or people I'm relative to, because I'm in it. It's kind of like a fish in water trying to discover water and how water works. But when I look at it when it happened to somebody else, then it's a lot easier for me to see it and understand that I'm not immune to what they did to the people in South Africa under the apartheid regime. Well, when I have this dialogue with people, I say, well, what do you think about how they treated those people? And what do you think the results were? Oh, they can give me answers very readily. Oh, yeah, that's right. I said, well, have you ever considered that they learned that system from the system we're living in right now? So did Nazi Germany. They studied the system of separatism in the United States, and they're on record as saying it was a little too brutal for what they wanted to do. So I'm saying now, let's examine again where we are and what that kind of pressure, which is the root word of oppression, what it does to a group of people over a long length of time.
Yeah, a very long length of time. Yeah, I think that prepaid.
I don't know what, I'm about to check, see.
That prepaid.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to get me an iPhone. No, I really do think it's not. I'm gonna have to go in here and change. I can still talk or listen, brother. I'm gonna go in here and change up, get off.
Remember a few years ago when they made this movie by Justin Timberlake, about, I think it was in 2011, called In Time. And In Time, the concept of the movie was that you were paid in time. You wasn't paid in money. You was paid in time, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
You remember that movie, Brian?
I never saw it. I've never seen any movie with Justin Timberlake. I don't have anything against him. It's just
I know. It's just still, it's such a Brian answer.
It is.
I know you didn't mean it like that, but I just know it's such But the concept of in time was this: you were getting paid in time. You wasn't getting paid in money, right? And so you know you'll see people running hard as they can to the bus because they only got like 25 hours and they got to go work to get some time added on to their existence, right? And then some cats, they was hijacking people's time, so they was taking, some people had 25 million hours worth of time. So they lived on the other side of the city. They lived on what they would call the people with the most time side.
Affluent side.
What'd you say?
The affluent side.
Yeah, right. So when a person who had a least amount of time would go over to that side, their whole behavior was different. They had a rush and an anxiety, and they were easily recognized because they like, oh, this guy right here ain't got much time. This guy ain't got much time. It reminded me of what I was just talking about to a degree when we are conditioned to not really have resources or money. We look different on the surface and don't realize that we look different on the surface. We don't realize that our anxiety, we moving in a different way.
Yeah.
We moving with a different pace. We moving with a desperation.
Yeah,
And
and
then-
it shows.
Mhm.
And it shows.
So,
Yeah, it shows. Yeah, it shows.
Okay. Here's
Go
the
ahead.
question though.
go ahead, Brian.
Why do we move that way though? What got us to that point?
It's the
Again.
anxiety. I'm saying it's the anxiety.
Okay, I know. Okay, we know what it is. The anxiety is the end result.
Okay.
What's the source? You can diagnose a cold. You got a cold. That's the rhinovirus. You've contacted the rhinovirus. But again, your surfaces are not clean. Your bed is not clean. Your kitchen's not clean. Your common areas, doorknobs, remote controls, cell phone, they still have that virus on them. But every time I see you, when you come to my house, everything clean. You ain't sniffing and coughing no more. And let's just say I'm like Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle make people put their phone in a bag, and you gonna kick it at my house without no electronics. So you get to Dave Chappelle's house and you feeling better. You no longer have that cold because you drinking vitamin C, you eat healthy food. It's no stress. Your body is building up. As soon as you get your phone out that bag, hey baby, I'm on my way home. What you've just done? You've infected yourself. So, what is infecting us to make us have that anxiety and stressful look about us when we on the good part of town or wherever we're at?
Yeah, I feel like that question, and I think it goes a lot back to what Al was delineating for us is that, who are we among, right? One of the things that we talked about a couple of weeks ago in a book study, I had no idea that these people were burning mummies, man, for train fuel. That blew me away. The same group of people who coming over here were eating their dead, So when we talk about like who we're among and people who have created these rules and made it so that way we can't win, right? It's not even a fair game. So when we talk about like what's infected us, it's that mentality that comes from being under that kind of pressure, that kind of rule to survive. And we just talking about to survive, man. We're not even talking to thrive, right? So it's because it's different rules when you talk about thriving. Totally different rules. But I think, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation about the trauma piece, because we're kind of going into this white supremacy stuff. And like, are they really supreme? Right? I mean, like, are we really talking about, is that really what's happening here to us? Is that we're losing to white supremacy, or is it something else? I mean, what's really going on?
All right, let's tie your point, Brian, and then let's tie what Ernest just saying in together. So at your point, you was like, what's making us sick? You got to look at what's making us sick, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm gonna liken it to the example I was just giving too. We running across town, we got this anxiety on us. Okay, let's use your term, Brian. We sick, right? Or we sick, and we got to look at the source of why we became sick. But the funny part is, once we get into this other area, automatically we know we sick we looking around, but we know we need to calm down because they got this facade or this placid environment of calming down, right? Based off of their conditions. This calm down. And then they got and in this calm, they got this moral code that they already established, right? And we like, man, we looking around, regardless of how they got it, we looking around and it get flipped on us to tell us we going against this moral code, just creating this placid environment because the sickness we got inflicted on came from y'all. It came from you. It didn't come from us.
That's
And now
right.
they call this a society now. This is our society, right? And we bamboozled. We like, man, wait a minute. Because what we can easily identify, we can recognize once we get to certain levels of success, we can experience that placid environment also. So it's like this moral confusion that's occurring, like, how do we climb the ladder to experience this placid nature from this placid environment? And they looking at it like, yeah, regardless of how it was created. And then we got to look up and like, hey, wait a minute. It was created on the backs of our people, right? Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
No, I'm agreeing. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
I just wasn't used to that level of active listening. That was some fantastic active listening. You was rocking back and forth, your head to hand. I don't know what gang sign you was throwing up, but
it goes back to the point we made this morning on jaw jacking.
Mm-hmm.
Your question was, at some point, don't we have to stop looking back at slavery? But you can't, because if you stop, okay, you look back at slavery and see this is where the trauma came from, right? This is the source. Now we need to find out what's the trigger. What did we touch, or what did the people touch who put that trauma on us? And as Brother Al stated, and ironically, remember this morning, I mentioned that. I said, yeah, they try to tell you that they teach you that the pilgrims came over here and la-di-da. And remember what I said this morning? But they don't tell you that they emptied the jails and let all the heathens come over here and take over this country. And at one point, they were active in cannibalism. They don't teach you that, because if you teach me that, then you go, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
So the worst people in the world came over here, and then y'all beat these people who were here into submission. And then once you did it, you said, well, let's go get them damn black people and brought them over here. And now, once you go, okay, that's why I'm sick. Then you wash their nonsense off of you. I'm gonna give you an example of how you wash it off, or who washed it off of them, and now they're doing better. It's a country that didn't exist before 1947, Israel. And those people are Jews. And they said, we're not dealing with y'all no more. We're gonna say, we will enact a barter system with y'all, but we're not gonna be y'all friend no more. Because being y'all friend, Adolf Hitler went to America, looked at how they treated the black people, and said, we gonna do that to y'all. And then had a crisis of conscience. Said, oh, that black stuff just might be a little bit too much. That's a little too much. And then bam, it stopped. And they said, when the Jews came out of it, they said, and we not messing with y'all. Now we will deal with you. We will interact with y'all, but we will not engage. And like this more, and the reason I brought that up, Al and EJ, is because they kept saying, well, we have to do it this way. We have to enact the barter system. You got goods, we got services. Okay, in order for me to get those services, I have to work and get those goods, and just like a sharecropper. Okay, I'm only gonna be able to save 5% of this. But if all of us save 5%, now we got 5% times 40 million. And now we continue to build on what we have. And I know it can work because my grandmother, my great-grandmother Liggins, she did it off property that's still in my family to this day of 17 cents a year.
Wow.
That's what they pay for it.
No, my grandmother was a my
Oh,
great grandmother was a
oh,
sharecropper,
yeah.
and she only made 17 cents per year. And I got property in Tuskegee, Alabama right now due to her. So it can work, but we just got to believe it. But and again, that's why we have to look at that slave thing, because now I know where the source is from. Okay, I got it from Susie Q. I got VD from Susie Q. Where did she get it from? Because we don't find out where she get it from. That other person is gonna spread. You see it with this COVID thing. When you get COVID, they track who you have been in contact with to isolate it and fix it.
This was amazing to me. It's like one of the things that's amazing to me when from where I stand in our current generations is that we'll talk about and able to identify with how they used us during the years of shared, crop, with the cotton picking, slavery, and all of these earthly, handling the earth and growing production and producing food type of ways. But it is frowned upon in almost in the sense of the Black community as almost, like something that is unheard of to be a farmer or to be something of that nature. It's like almost frowned upon. That old country boy stuff, man. But then we why isn't our instincts to look at how, they used our ancestors to shape this country? Why is it not our instincts to get back to that? I think I'm just curious about that because what I do see is I see a lot of people that are beginning to navigate back south, going back to, you know what I mean? And they end up like a lot of people, like all of a sudden the light bulb going off. I got my buddy TC right now down there in Florida. Every time I talk to him, he bragging about the vitamin D that's coming from the sun. He be like, man, this do something so different to your skin. There's so many people that I know are navigating back to places where the sun is, where the vitamin D is. And I wonder sometimes, why is that not our instinct to get back to those environments where we growing our own food, where we living like that? And I don't know, Al, maybe you could speak on that. Why had it changed so much through the generations where that was so? I remember going to Arkansas with my grandmother. You know what I mean? I remember when, we used to go eat those the real food, beans, and the green beans, you pull it off, and it was plenty of food. It seemed like it was going straight through you in a digestive way that was good for you and everything else. Where they lived like that and they left land, why do we not get back to those instincts? I think that's my question. Hello?
You're on mute, brother.
Am I on mute or Al?
Am I not? Yeah, it kicked me off again. That was interesting what Rob just asked and the context he put it in. Understand that I live in what they call the Mid-South. Memphis is a huge town, but it ain't no city. I like to cuss then. It is often considered one of the poorest cities in the United States. It has a higher murder rate than Chicago. The school systems are terrible, and our inner city communities that I grew up in are just, it's like a bomb has gone through them, man. It looks like Detroit. I'm 67 years old, brothers. I grew up in the segregated South. I don't have to read about it. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to nobody to.
That's that prepaid.
That's cricket too. That's like cricket.
Hey man, don't talk about cricket, man. I like it.
Oh, well, it's Aaron.
Hey, you went mute again, Al.
Yeah. But I was saying is living under this system, which it's the same thing as apartheid. That's what it felt like down here, man. And consider historically, from 1865 to 1965, our people built a nation within a nation. We had our own everything. I was born in a colored hospital. I don't know about that a white hospital. I was born in a colored hospital. My doctor was a colored man. This is what they call themselves. We had black banks. We had black insurance companies. We created the best thing on the planet called the Chitlin Circuit, where you could go and watch Sam Cooke up close and personal, who was our superstar back in the day. You get what I'm saying? Man, we created benevolent societies that turned to insurance companies. We did all of that, and we got pied pipered away into integration, man. Nobody knew anything about integration. Nobody, there was no experts on integration. It had never happened. All they could do was suppose. They lived in an Autobee world. Well, and this is the way it was sold to us. I remember this distinctly. This is the way it was told. Well, we're gonna integrate the schools and we're gonna integrate the neighborhoods and everything. They didn't say it like this, but this was the thought. And everything is gonna be all right. My naivety said, oh, now we'll be accepted by white people. They'll quit living with us and we can get a bond. It wasn't that I wanted to be around them. I just wanted them to not have me surrounded with malice and mean intent. Man, it was tough.
That's good.
But nobody listen, man, we could not compete with the businesses that integration threw us next to. A mom and pop store.
Hey man, the ancestors are awesome. Because that's exactly what I said this morning.
Really? Oh wow, man. Yeah, that's powerful stuff, man. You know, in terms of like, I think you said Pied Piper.
Oh, yeah,
Pied Piper.
Yeah, we were Pied Piper.
Okay, back.
That's a strategy. That is a strategy. Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, I was just saying the major impact I think integration had was we couldn't compete with their businesses. And so it just killed our businesses, man. The grocery stores went out, the manufacturers companies that we had in our neighborhoods went out, beautiful, vibrant neighborhoods that we had in Memphis. And I know you all had in Chicago because my people lived in Chicago too. Just were gone. And so I think we're still suffering from some of that impact, the momentum of it, because when you see something like that fail so quickly, that's trauma for me.
Yeah.
You know, like what happened? I can't go home no more. What happened? I couldn't explain it in real time what I was going through. You know, and the next thing I'm trying to figure out what's happened, because I checked out about 12 years, y'all.
He checked out about 12 years. Okay. Yeah, I think he froze again.
Yeah.
You said you checked out about 12 years, Al?
I said I checked out. I got out of the United States Navy in 1974. I first started, became an activist in the Navy, man, because of how they would treat the black sailors. Navy was highly segregated. It was only 5% of black sailors when I went in 71. And so you can imagine that tradition of black sailors only being stewards, you know, where we had to wait on, that was basic. We had those hard jobs working, called snipes or the boiler men, you know, or deck apes, they called us. Well, you know, now it had opened up because of law and rules had changed, but it's still only 5%. And man, that was a traumatic experience. You know what I'm saying? I come out of a completely segregated society. I had only had one conversation with a white person my age one time in my life from birth till I was 17 years old.
Wow.
Do you understand that? I didn't know nothing about white people until I got in the Navy, and I began to ask, who are these people? God damn. What?
Man, hey man, didn't I tell this same story this morning, Rob?
Yeah.
But to truncate this story, man, is that I didn't understand about competition with them because I never even considered that as a competition. In segregated South, I knew what I was probably going to be doing, and I just wanted to make some money and be left alone. And my people had businesses, they owned property, and so I getting some money wasn't a problem in my thought pattern. It was like how I want to get this money, and I wanted a family. You know what I'm saying? I didn't bargain for what was going to be thrust upon me, but I also was raised with some dignity, and dignity from some uncles and dad and grandmamas, and I lived in a room with my granddad. I slept in the room with my granddad. He was a sharecropper. He was a hobo during the Great Depression. So he was also educated. He went to college also, man. So he was able to relate to me these stories in the kind of language that I love to hear about. The one thing I love, the stories that I love that he told was about the bad niggas. See, my granddaddy didn't tell, he told me about brothers that wasn't no punks. And that he named them Kimbo Miles, Doozy Miles, Peter Monroe, all these cats that I still remember that he told me about, that they was gonna get respect, that they didn't care who you were. So that began to change the narrative in me, and then to see it in my dad's brothers and himself, that they walked with their heads up, man. They had some dignity, man. They didn't care who you were. And so for me to have to go and compete in this system that was foreign to me, and now they began to talk to me in a manner I found offensive. And I don't know how to take that very well, y'all. That didn't sit well with me. The first time that we talked about the first time I got in some trouble, if you understand what I'm saying. So I didn't know anything about these people I was competing with, man. I didn't understand their values, their morals, their mores, any of that about them. Traditions, because they're saying those are their values, mores, traditions, customs, therefore they're mine. No, they are.
That's interesting. That's real interesting. And you saying, and that's a result of segregation. That we merge with that we merge philosophically with people that we wasn't supposed to merge with. That's interesting, because even in the Bible they were talking about where if you go into a land and you start taking over a land, it was saying kill everything that's affiliated with the land, everything that was attached to the philosophy of those people. I mean, that's kind of like what it was saying, and I'm not, I'm just saying that's what the concept was. The concept was going there.
Makes good sense to me.
Destroy all of the land, basically everything, children, everything.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, hey, Big Al, man, thank you for sharing that with us today. Because again, that's exactly what I said this morning. I went to a black preschool. I went to a black elementary school. I went to a black high school, black college. So, hey, here's the thing. I live 1400 north. The white people were 16,500 north. We didn't even consider them in the same neighborhood with us. Like, my man, look, I live 1442. My man Field lives 1600. Literally, I could walk out of my house and look at Field house. People in my neighborhood said, no, Field live over there with them. I didn't eat McDonald's on a regular basis. McDonald's was a treat until I started working there. My senior year to buy my prom stuff. So we ate at Jerry's. We ate at Chester's, a black pizza place. We ate at the Black Fish House. We ate at what's the name? Farmer Brown's Barbecue, Farmer Brown's Fish. We got food from Terry's grocery store. This is the 80s. We went to Terry's Red Hot for Italian beefs and stuff like that. On the north side of Chicago, over there in the area that everybody in America heard of and they scared of, the Cabrini Green area, that's what we did. Only time you left from 1600 north to 800 north to 200 west to 800 west is when you want to go buy some clothes. We had our own movie theater called The Village.
Yeah.
We didn't go anywhere.
What changed? What changed over there, B?
People started going to, they tore down Cooley High and they changed Waller High School to Lincoln Park High School. Now the school is integrated. Then they tear down Cooley High and they got near North. And then all this what we was talking about earlier. The structure, like he was talking about his grandfather, those badass dudes, the structure was removed. You remove the gang chiefs, and now it's chaotic. Now it's a free for all in these streets. The gangs used to, they used to shoot at each other. Like, okay, the neighborhood that I was originally born in is the Abler homes over there on Rose. I was my family, my mom and my daddy's family is from Jewtown, Austin and Roosevelt,
Hey, man, how you
Austin and
doing?
14th Street to Western in those same streets, right? So it was this group of guys when drug dealing got super big, they called themselves the Paymasters. This is no joke. I could get one of the guys on Facebook to chime in if you think I'm lying. The Paymasters used to knock on the doors. Go get your kids. Go get your kids. They shoot up the block. Send somebody else back through. We done what we got to do. You let your kids back out. When you lock up gang chiefs and stuff like that, that creates a chaotic situation. Remember earlier today, Rob, I mentioned Fluky Stokes.
Yeah.
You had to know Ernest. Ernest had to know Al. Al had to know me. We had to know Frank. And then you could sell drugs. Mm-hmm. All of us had to say, yeah, Rob is cool. And then you sold drugs. Now it's, I got $2,400. You can sell drugs now.
Mm-hmm. Big difference. Big difference. So what we're seeing is a lack of structure, lack of order, pecking order. And you know, when I say that, I don't know, I kind of have a reaction because again, it makes me think about hierarchy. And you know, I'm not that fond of hierarchy, but we can see in that particular context where it did work. You know, and it was definitely what would I like to say? It was productive.
A necessary evil.
Yeah, it was productive, so to speak. Yeah. So, but again, I want to go back to that integration piece. You know, because Al, we talk about the baseball aspect of that. Would you say what, Rob?
Take them off mute, Ernest.
Yeah, no. I'm unmuted. I muted because some cats came out on the backyard where I was. I didn't want them to disturb it. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, Ernest. It seemed like I interrupted your question. I apologize. I thought you had them on mute.
No. So yeah, well, talk about that piece, Al. You know how baseball played a major part in the integration piece.
Sure, man. I have a guide, a mentor of sorts, named Dr. Clifford Black, and we fondly call him Dr. Black. And so I had like, and still do have unfettered access to this like national treasure for Black people, man, that I can just pull up to his crib or call him, or he'll come over to the crib and we'll just kick the fat, man. And so one day I was outside cleaning up outside, and I was talking to him on the telephone, and I asked him, we was talking about integration, and he won't tell you right off. He'll tell you some things like, well, if you want to understand integration, you need to figure out about Branch Rickey. So something like abstract like that, right? And I'm like, okay, all right, man, let me find out about Branch Rickey. I'll call you back. So I go and I begin to research Branch Rickey and see who he was first, what motivated him.
He dropped all the way, man. Branch Rickey, boy, but I see you over there going crazy, B. I see you over there.
Branch Rickey thing, Brent. Okay, here's the deal. Major League Baseball was losing money because the Negro Leagues was making more money than them. The Negro Leagues also was giving players part of the overall money. So and white people start going to the Negro League games.
Sir.
So nah.
Sir.
People don't understand. If not, I know at one point, I know 5 years ago, it was the most productive Black-owned business in the United States of America.
Yeah, I think
5 years ago.
I think I would agree with you. I think I read the same thing.
Okay, so if you got the most productive and the most entertaining and the best players, we got to break that up. He gonna get it to you.
No. Go finish your point though, B. Just finish your point.
That's no. He finna tell you what. Al gonna give you the rest of Al. Finish you left off at Branch Rickey.
Is he still on mute?
He don't look like he on mute. Okay.
No, I got kicked all the way out. I had to come relog, but very quickly, he as I began to have a conversation with him about Branch Rickey, he began to explain or point out to me that he said, well, that was the nation's pastime, national baseball. And what they were wanting to do was to integrate the so-called Negro League players into their system. And the best way to begin to foster integration was to do it on a big scale where everybody would be paying attention to it. And that's the National Baseball League. Therefore, you got an example. But the main thing he began to explain to me was the real integration happened with the integrating of our money into their coffers. It just didn't reintegrate back into our coffers, because now the competition started. Once National Baseball became integrated, your other leagues began to integrate, and now you begin to see integration in large scale. But if you look during that same period, our banks began to fail, insurance companies began to fail. My uncle was an assistant manager of Atlanta Life Insurance Company, right? All of a sudden, it don't exist no more because they can't compete with Blue Cross Blue Shield or Metropolitan Life. They just couldn't give that level of service. And so that's the quick part of it. But I think if you look, you'll see the parallel of the major benefit was they stopped a separate economy, a contained economy that we had, and integrated that economy into their economy. And now we can't compete because we don't know what happened.
And that's all. And that's just the bottom line. That goes to that kumbaya piece you was talking about, Rob. Every time we kumbaya, or every time they say, hey, y'all need to go get y'all own, we go do it. Yeah. And when we do it and make it bubble, they destroy it because they don't want to compete.
Let's talk about policy, man. Policy. That was taken from us, man.
Yeah. They turned it into the lottery.
Come on, man.
Oh, we can't sell dope. All right, no worries. We can't bootleg liquor. Okay, no problem. We're gonna create something. And then when we create it, 1970, they say, this is too good. We can't destroy this.
Yeah, so we talking about who we are among, because like we're going back to that sickness piece, that trauma piece. Why are we behaving the way we're towards each other, right? Even in our last conversation, we was talking about Black people making bad decisions, right? Like we just inclined to make bad decisions. Like we just, knee-jerk people, like in just looking at the sickness that has been placed upon us. And again, every time we're given a line to try to reach, we reach the line and then it's pushed back a little bit more, and then pushed back a little bit more, and pushed back a little bit more. And then they keep telling us, there's something wrong with us. But I think that having this conversation about who we are among is so important for us to understand, like the real context of our sickness. Because again, when we think about who these people are, and I'm just thinking about Al's story, talking about when he went to the Navy, about like who these people are, like who they really are. And again, we're not trying to, inflame anything here. We're just talking about facts pieces. There's a story that one of our Inward Journey sisters did, Al Christian, about the brothers down in Memphis. And I think one of them had owned a store or something to that effect. And, and they killed the brother. And the brother wanted to get revenge, but he couldn't. He just couldn't. His family talked him out of getting revenge, and he just couldn't do it. And they didn't even have any real good reason for killing this brother, man. So again, when we talk about these people, man, that we are among, and because I love our people, man, and I hate that our people are getting a real bad rap, because the things that are happening in where we are and things of that nature, and we don't notice the policies, we don't notice the conflict, we don't notice the stuff that has been placed on us that has made us behave this way. And I don't even like to say made us, but it's contributed to us behaving this way. I just think, man, having these kind of conversations are so pivotal to, you know, kind of releasing some compassion towards us.
Let me ask this question to the panel real quick, because we got so many different things coming at us at once, right? And no matter what we pick up the subject at, I mean, it's a real subject. Wherever you pick up the subject, it's a real deal subject, right?
Sure.
Here's my question. And where we stand is lawlessness. Is it lawlessness across the board? Is it crime across the board? I mean, I think that's a direct question I got to y'all. And the reason why I say that, or do we make it, because we seem to make a distinction when crime comes from someone else, from an outside source. And the only reason why I ask this, I'm not trying to, you know, jump down Black people crime. I'm saying, but do we draw a line in the sand to say crime is crime? Crime is crime. You know, like, I don't care if you Black and you do crime, I'm gonna stand up for crime the same way. But do we get different when we see crime getting leveled against us from a different group? We stand up different. Like, hold on. You know, hold on. Like, you ain't gonna just be able to come. You know, I just want y'all to, like, I want to at least hear y'all points on that.
I would say no, because for whatever reason, I don't call it white supremacy. I call it white nationalism. White nationalism controls the order of the day. And when you watch the news, I believe their reaction that you're talking about is because white nationalism, this face right here, the face of crime. And watch this. 5 years ago, the young brother who's a police officer in the exact same town, Minneapolis, Minnesota, the white lady ran up on him, he shot her and killed her.
Yep.
18 months later, he went to jail for 13 years. It was a trial. It was, he was in jail. You got people from our community who suffering from the trauma, who suffering from the white nationalist points of views, that are saying the reason George is dead is because he was a drug addict. And hey, Rob, if you was Stevie Wonder on this show, you can see why our brother George is dead. But when it's somebody else, like, okay, watch this. Did anybody see that young brother that ran up into the Capitol this week?
Yeah.
You saw his face, didn't you, Ernest?
Yes, sir.
Now watch this. That means you watch the news regularly. It's reasonable to assume that you're watching the news on a regular basis.
Go myself?
Right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, that's even better.
No.
Did anybody in this pool or anybody in the chat room, did anybody see the white boy face who beat that cop to death with that flagpole?
No.
Difficult.
Why not?
It's difficult.
And that's why we react that way, Rob. The brother, he ran over a barricade, got out, held up his hands with a knife in his hand. They shot him down. The boy in Atlanta shot up 3 spas and shot up a person just walking down the street. He went home. That boy who left Illinois, the suburbs of Chicago, went up to Wisconsin and followed them white boys around and murdered them. He went home. I mean, he went to jail. That boy on here go a fun fact. That boy who went into that church at the AME church, Denmark Vesey's church, the designer of the largest slave revolt in the history of the United States of America. That's his church. He created that church. Guess what? That boy went into that place 150 years after Denmark Vesey to the day. The next day was the anniversary of the revolt. So, what they tried to do, he was just crazy. No, that was an attack. But we don't know these things. When you know your past, then you understand. Hey, Rob, brother, I know you, not for a long time, but I know how you think. And it's certain things that make you go. You will say, yeah, I see how you acting, B. because it's something in you telling me, B want to say something. I'll just be sitting there like this. And you'll say, I know you want to say something, B, because you have an innate ability to do that. The universe, God, your spirit, or whatever, it pulls it out of you. I see it. I know B wants some of this. Bam, and I'm in it. So we also, when you know your history, you know that. One more thing, and I'm gonna shut up. Al lives in the town. I bet you none of y'all knew this. This white man, well, he looks like a white man. He's a brother. His name is Robert Reed Church. He saved Memphis. Every town is incorporated. Memphis went broke. Beale Street is a result of a black man named Robert Reed Church. He financed Ida Bell Wells when she used to tell the world these white folks is crazy. He also financed this. Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Wow.
Yes.
When you know these things, you empower yourself. You will not want to integrate because hold it. You mean a brother created Beale Street, and then one of these little gym shoe, me and my buddies called the new gym shoe boys, the drug dealing boys. Then they want to build stuff. And just like Al said, if you come to Chicago, you go down, Google Roosevelt Road, Chicago. You will be amazed. But they tell you the West Side is trash and filthy and disgusting. You know why they never put any money back into the West Side, Rob? Because that's where the rich brothers used to live. We need y'all to stay subjugated. When you continue to block our history, we continue to not understand our greatness.
Yeah.
And when you don't understand your greatness, you are subject to their tyranny. And it's not a uneducated, uninformed black folks like to say, you don't like white people. No, I just love Al, I love Rob, I love Ernest, and the people who listen too much to fall for the okie doke. Go ahead, Al, I'm gonna be quiet.
But Rev, no, I just wanted to come with
Al,
with
before
you talked about Bob Church.
Can you hear me before you start? I just
Yeah,
want to
I got
say,
you. Yeah.
first of all, I really appreciate meeting you. I appreciate you being on. I appreciate and I apologize to Ernest and HRAP for being late and not respecting y'all time the way it is. But I got to make a hard stop right now because I got to go to work. So I will talk to y'all later, man.
All right, brother.
Peace out, Rob.
Love, brother.
We'll the week like we always do, brother.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Yeah, we're going to finish up pretty soon anyway. So.
All right, love y'all, brothers.
All right, brother. Appreciate you. What we going to say, Al?
Yeah, I was coming, just adding to what Bro H was sharing about Robert Church. We call him Bob Church in Memphis. Him and his son, who after him, because he was the first black millionaire in the South. And then he passed his fortune down to his son. But dig this, man. His son went into leagues with Boss Crump, who was the boss of Memphis. He was the mayor, and then he controlled the politics, and not only Memphis, but in the state of Tennessee, okay? Well, Robert Church Jr. went into agreement with Crump to get the Republicans ticket passed because black people were Republicans back then. And so as a result, Boss Crump allowed him to do certain things and to get certain licenses and to buy property in certain places to enrich himself. And they were in league together, but Boss Crump did not respect Robert Church. He used him, and when he got tired of him, he ran him out of town. But now listen, this is when it goes to specifically for what Rap said. Years later, the old Church mansion that stood on Mississippi Boulevard, I think it's Mississippi. A lot of it. It was a very affluent area of black people, right? They did a demonstration. The mayor Crump had the fire department burn that house down as a training exercise.
Yes.
A controlled fire as a training. The richest man in the history of the city thus far, when he left town because he was run out, a few years later, they had a controlled fire to burn the memory of black enterprise down. Do you hear me? That is trauma producing, man.
Yes.
You get the signal. I hear what you're saying. That's not stopped. That's what I want you to hear.
Yeah.
That is, it happens over and over and over again. Once we can objectify it and we can look at it as rather objectively and go, oh, this is what happened there. This is how that was lost. You now that whole neighborhood, all those houses have been rebuilt with projects, and now they're throwing the projects down, and they're building some other projects that they're calling affordable housing. The whole point is the history is wiped away. That is genocide, man.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And
I
on
like
top
how
of
you
that-
put that period on that, brother. Go ahead, H.
And on top of that, think about this. From what I read, when you went to Memphis and you were black, they was like all over there by the church estate. That triggers ingenuity. I'm gonna be just like Ernest. You know Ernest Johnson lived here. Oh, hold on, he black? A black man lived there. It was the biggest house on a hill. The whole world could see it, and it was a brother lived there. So every young black man walked past that house. Every young black woman walked past that house and be like, oh my God, I got to get me one. You know, like we do with cars now and things of that nature. Guess what that creates? Trauma. Because if I get something, y'all gonna take it.
Y'all gonna take it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And by the way, Bob Church Jr. came on up here to Chicago.
He
Now,
did.
what year was this, Al, that they burned down his house?
I think late 40s. I'm not sure. I know it wasn't the 30s. I'm pretty sure it was the late 40s, man.
Yep.
When it happened. I got a link. I'll send you the link to the story about it. I got it readily available that I can get to, and I send it to you. It's a pretty decent read, man.
Appreciate it.
And remember, just like bro Rap said, you know, Memphis was a stopping point from Louisiana, Jackson, Mississippi, all of the Mississippi Delta. They would come to Memphis often and stay here for a while, but now it was wild. It was a lot of sociopaths and psychopaths in Memphis that would drive them further north. And that's what the reason I said that is based on their definitions of sociopathy, their behavior was that of a sociopath. And we got caught. I mean, who else owns humans and beats them and rape them and don't feed them enough to just work for them the next day? It wasn't no fat mammoth. What are they talking about? If you look at people, pictures of enslaved people, you didn't see obese people. The people were hungry, man. They was trying to get another meal the next day. You can keep somebody working for you if you never give them enough energy to gain any fat so they can leave. How you gonna run? You all gaunt and your belly is distended almost because you're hungry all the time, man. Who does that to people? Who takes a device and put it on a person's tooth and knock their teeth out, man? Come on, man. Who does that?
Yeah, that's good, brother.
1953, Ernest.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that, brother. Man,
53. That's the year I was born.
Wow. That wasn't that long ago.
So,
That wasn't that long
right,
ago.
it wasn't long enough.
I was born in 1953.
See?
Wow.
And that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I get Rob is a humanitarian. So I get why he gives me the counters when we do it. It makes for great conversation. But that's what I be telling him. It's not an anti-anything. It's a pro-us point of view. It's a us versus them thread because y'all made it that way. Like the love thy enemy scripture in the Bible, I broke that down today. I was like, hey, understand where the Bible was written at. When you are at war, when the Ashantis used to war, and when the Zulus used to war, when they decided this, we ain't gonna keep beating y'all, they gave the people an escape route. You can go back to retreat. So I got love for you. Now I'm not gonna, like, if me and you get into a fist fight, if you start winning, you're gonna be like, look, B, I don't want to fight no more. Just it's over. Or like old men used to see us fight. You beating the hell out of me, they'd be like, hey, he got enough. And then me and you, we've done it. Me and you get into a fight on the basketball court, your lip busted, my eye swollen. 3 hours later, what's up, Ernest? Man, let's go play this basketball game because these dudes on 63rd think they got us.
Right.
So that's love. And the original verse of love thy enemy is actually love thy adversary, because the adversary does not necessarily mean enemy, which invokes hate and disdain and things of that nature. But it's adversary.
I see you, brother. I see you, man.
Man, that's wonderful, because I was just having this conversation with a brother this morning about that, and he says, well, you got to consider, if you hated your enemy, who was you gonna mate with? You couldn't just continually mate within your group, because you mate yourself out of existence. You have to have groups of people have to intermingle and intermarry in order to keep the species alive. And so that was arrangements, like you said, like, okay, we've had this disagreement over a boundary or border or water or food or whatever. We have it's not that they weren't having wars like they have today. Our people wasn't wars of attrition. They would use the ceremonial wars mostly, and somebody get hurt, they stopped the battle. But the kidnapping of women was expected. It was built into the culture because they had to do it. They had to. So you don't want to be continuously trying to wipe out another group. That don't help your group.
Right. That's right.
That's why this is so foreign to us, man.
Yeah.
Do you see it in that movie, Achilles? The movie with Achilles with what's the boy, Brad Pitt? At the very beginning, they walked up to each other and say, "Hey, let's not kill everybody. You get your best warrior, I get my best warrior. Whoever wins, that's who won the war." That's an African tradition. But we don't know that because we have been hidden from our past, which invokes trauma, which puts us in this chaos. Now we're acting like the people who oppressed us, not like what's built inside of us.
That's right. That's right. Well, look, brothers, this has been a great conversation. I know we could continue this, going on, but plug yourself, H-Rap. Let the people know who you are, what you do.
Man, I'm H-Rap B. Built for this network. I have a show called The End of the Bench. The End of the Bench comes from being on the end of the bench, having these kind of conversations with the team. You're up 20, you talk to your teammates. You're down 20, you talk to your teammate. 20 seconds to go, you talk to your teammate. But the crux of my show is the moniker, Build and Destroy. I'm building up our community with information, love, passion, energy. And actually, Ernest, I'm gonna call you when we end this show. I got a question for you. And I'm on every Tuesday from 5 to 7, and I'm on every Saturday 5 to 7. Look me up, The End of the Bench, on YouTube. Be part of the community, because what I'm trying to do is build a community and tell stories. Hey, if you free Al, please reach out to me. I would love to have you and your story on my show. I need people to hear from you. And if you know anybody who's willing to tell their story, no matter where you're from, please talk to me. I want the world to know Al. And anybody who like Al.
Yeah, you got plenty of those.
I sure will. It's an honor, man. I appreciate that. I will take you up on that.
Please. Ernest, send them my number, please.
Indeed. Al, go ahead and pub yourself, man. What you do? Tell the people who you are, what you got going on.
Sure. My name is Al Lewis. I am co-founder of Inward Journey, Inc., featuring the Underground Railroad Training Odyssey. You can look us up on our website at www.inwardjourney.org, www.inwardjourney.org. And it'll tell you a little bit about what we do, man. But I'm just an old cat that loves to be challenged, and I love intelligent thought and dialogue and discourse. See, this makes me want to go and read something else right now. It's great to know there's other brothers out here and other sisters out here that want to pass this stuff on, because let's not let it end with us. We got to let these young folks know. We far and few in between, man, and I ain't got much time, so I'm trying to kick it down. And all these youngsters know you better look at this thing a different way, because you might be looking at it the way they want you to look at it. That's it.
Tell you what, hey, Al, you gonna be busy 5 o'clock Tuesday?
No, I don't have anything 5 o'clock. No.
Hey, let's have you on my show Tuesday.
I'll swap information. I'll get him your info, B.
And Ernest, I got an idea. I think you're gonna love it.
Okay, sounds good, brother. Sounds good. Well, look, man, this is Ernest. No, go ahead, Al.
Ernest, you hook me up with Bro A's information so we can we can talk. And okay, all right.
Will do.
And
I got you.
I will I'll be at the house Tuesday where I'm on my internet, so this don't happen.
Now wait till you meet Al's son, brother. We don't.
Hey man, hey man, introduce me. I told you, I think we lose 150 years of history every time one of our elders transition. We lose 150 years of history that we'll never get back.
Yeah, man. I appreciate what you guys, both of you guys are doing, man. I really do. Well, this is Ernest, man. You catch me on Instagram, Ernest Sense. Also Facebook, Ernest L. Johnson. And with that, man, I'm out. We out, man. Thank you all for such a great conversation. We got some excellent comments on Facebook, man. So I really appreciate your contribution, Al. We definitely got to get you back, man, so we can continue this conversation. All
I'm
right,
about to call you right now, Aaron.
Sure.
all right, man. Thanks, Al. Peace.
All right, man. Peace to everybody.
Nice meeting you, brother Al.